Hello everybody, I'm Chrissy B and welcome to my show. Now every parent wants their child to be happy, but sometimes things happen that try to threaten that happiness. So how do you help your children with difficult situations and minimize any negative effects on them? How do you protect them and give them happy memories to treasure? So we'll be speaking to parenting expert Sue Atkins for her advice, and we'll also hear from Michelle Lowe about her work in a children's centre and about her childhood, which has opened her eyes to domestic abuse. And we'll also be joined with soul singer and songwriter Debra Debs, who's just been nominated for 3 Urban Music Awards, Best Newcomer, Female Artist, R&B Soul Act, who'll be sharing the journey of her career, and she'll perform her track sometimes at the end of the show. And we'll also check out what happened when we went to the streets of London asking what were your happiest childhood memories, and also how important is a hug. We also have Jane Rafter's fitness tip on the advantages of using a diary, and I'll be answering a question from a viewer. But first of all, we have Ian and Helena with the news.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
We're bouncing.
I didn't ask you yet.
So I'm going to tell you anyway.
All
I just
hungry.
had this wonderful fun bag of chocolates this afternoon.
Did you? Why? I thought you were off the chocolate, Ian.
I am. But
He is.
I weakened this afternoon. There was this wonderful bag of your favourite chocolates for £1.
It's one of my favourite Maltesers.
Yes.
Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. And I like Ferrero Rocher and other stuff as well, so let me just say a few so I don't get into trouble. Happiest childhood memories. Can you think of any that you want to share?
Absolutely.
Lots. In fact, most of my childhood memories, is in good ones, were always outside.
Yeah.
Running through the woods, climbing trees, running around on my bike with my mum as well. We used to collect water from a stream and look at the microscopic animals under the microscope in the water.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
really
In
nice
England?
things. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a little
And I
woods
had
near us. Yeah.
One of my favourite childhood memories was I was a terrific saver when I was a young boy, and any money that I used to get, that's where I get it comes from. And any money I used to get for birthdays or for Christmas or whatever, I used to have this blue piggy bank, and they all went in this blue piggy bank, and I was saving up for this watch that was £2.11 and sixpence. And I'd saved for about...
That sounds so ancient, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's only 21, you know.
And every week I used to go down to the high street where this watch was, and I'd see it in the jeweller's shop. I'd got to about £2.07 and 6, and I was counting the money one day, and my father came in the room, and he said, "God, where have you got all that money from?" And I said, "I've been saving for 2 years to buy this watch." And he gave me the other 4 shillings. He took me down, and he didn't earn much money himself those days. And he took down, and he bought me that watch.
Oh, lovely.
With the rest of the money.
Nice.
So
You still got it?
I haven't still got it, unfortunately, but that was one of my sort of favourite boyhood tales.
Gosh, that's nice.
How about you?
I'll tell you later. Let's hear the news first, and I'll tell the news later with the interviews. Okay, I've got a few actually.
So very excited to see that Kate Middleton, Duchess of Cambridge, is on her feet again, looking amazing. So it's lovely to see. And she was wearing her Alexandra McQueen coat the other day, looking glorious, and wearing a beautiful Jenny Packham dress. I don't know if you saw, really beautiful light blue. Really lovely at the Natural History Museum. So for the,
She seems to be better than the last pregnancy, doesn't she?
I think so. I mean, she didn't look brilliant, I have to say. She looked a bit tired, but it's understandable.
But any
And
pregnant woman
also,
looks tired,
quite,
don't
yeah, but I'd imagine
at
quite
that stage.
daunting, because she's obviously aware that everyone's waiting, anticipating for her to do her official engagements. But it was the photographer. Was it the wildlife photographer of the year?
Wildlife photographer of the year, which
which
she
was
did like last
exciting.
night. But she
Really nice.
still hasn't learnt. Do you know, it still is happening, because there was a shot of her last night. Fortunately, not showing next week's washing yet. But you know, the wind had caught her coat and her dress again, and it had blown up again. And how many times has she got this? Because it doesn't happen in royal circles. You've got to have weights in the hems of royal circles. The Queen will be furious.
She's naughty.
She's
She'll be
naughty.
doing that.
And that's when she met the president of Singapore.
Absolutely.
As well.
God.
Flying
For
up
goodness
in the
knows what
air.
he's thinking. However, we carry on. Prince Harry has been joking this week about, he was at a ceremony the other day, and it was for women. So there were 200 women came for this event. So obviously Harry rushed off to that event, perhaps looking for a future bride, I don't know.
He has
So
a future
it was for
bride.
well
He
child.
has a future bride. I still,
Yes.
my money is still on Cressida.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he got there, and there were 2 men in 200 women. And the table plan had obviously been sort of set up, and he suddenly realised he was sat between two men.
Oh,
Out of 200 women, and he sat next to two men. What is going on? So perhaps it was the palace getting their own back, I don't know.
Probably.
I'd imagine. Happy birthday to the Duchess of, Duchess of York, yes, Fergie. She's 55. She looks amazing. She's lost 4 stone.
Has she?
And she's on like this health food kick, but looks really good and very calm, and so she's doing something.
Found herself finally, maybe.
So she's had her birthday at Windsor Castle, and she's on good terms with the Queen again, which is great.
That's good.
Maybe not so much with Philip.
Where's she living now? Where's she living now?
She's living
back in Windsor.
Yes.
So there was this story at the end of last year that perhaps they were going to go back together again. And as I've said before, that there's always been this ongoing love story. You know, they've never fallen out of love, and I think they've been a very sort of strong, solid couple. And it was only protocol that sort of forced them apart, I think, in the end. So
they're just great friends. I think you can be really good friends if you've been through a lot of struggles. I know you're.
I think it's hard to stay friends.
They've
with
got
someone.
children as well, so for the children, I think.
She has never had, as far as we know, any other sort of serious friends. Neither has he. You know, ever since, and you know, that's a pretty good, strong indication that they're strong people.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of time for Fergie. She was
We
a
should
really
get them
nice.
on to talk about their relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be nice.
Absolutely.
Can you arrange that, Ian?
We'll certainly have a go, Chrissy.
To do that. Don't laugh, Helena. You have to believe in these things. You can do it.
I do believe in her. I'm sure she's going to come running.
Yes.
She will.
Okay, so if she's watching right now, I invite you to come on the show to talk about your love life.
There you go. You heard it from here first.
So Lindsay Lohan, she's had a lot of
to?
struggles, but she's doing incredibly well. I think she had some knockbacks as well, which I think were a bit unfair because she's still in The Plough, a new play at the Playhouse Theatre in Trafalgar Square. But she has been in it now for probably about a month, and she was stumbling on her lines, and everyone was joking and saying, you know, she can't do it, she's not any good. Really unfair. But now she's got rave reviews. It's completely sell out. Oprah Winfrey came to support her because I think she sort of told her story to Oprah and opened up about, you know, her struggles. But good for her.
I know some people don't give a person a chance to get over their troubles, do they?
Absolutely.
I think
Madonna at the moment, she of the icon brigade, her daughter now is following in Madonna's footsteps. So although Madonna would give Lourdes anything, her daughter anything, but she's decided to be very strong, very independent. So she's just going to university right now. Instead of having these palatial apartments that she could have in Michigan at the university, she's decided to have this box room instead.
Not only that, it's a bunk bed as well, so she's actually sharing a box room.
So it's so sometimes.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, do you know, if you've got everything, it's fun for her. I'm sure she's got a great
That's what I'm saying, because I think because you know you're going to go back to all that nice stuff that you've got, so it doesn't bother you for a little while.
There's a story this week about Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian saying her daughter, when Kim Kardashian was 11 years old, she started working in the family store. And she's now saying that she will bring up her daughter in exactly the same way. That if the daughter wants money, she won't give her money, she'll have to earn it. She'll have to go out, you know, and sort of work and get this work ethic as well.
That she's got this amazing, I mean, even now, she's given the child loads of really expensive clothes, and so I can't see how that was
part of an advertising deal, wasn't it? So
I think it's good to discipline children like that because it makes them. Because I used to get pocket money, but I would really do a lot of housework. I'd do the shopping. I'd help with they used to make clothes at home, so I'd help with the overlocking and stuff like that. So I learned to appreciate how hard
the value
they were
of
working.
money and you earned your
cleaning
money.
all the plants, each leaf with a duster, make sure the dust was off and all that stuff. But not my happiest childhood memories as well. But I actually learned, you know, they worked hard, and I'm not afraid of hard work now.
And I think it was a good thing, you know. As a young boy, I was always like the Hovis boy, you know, climbing up the hill with the big basket. I used to be a butcher's boy. Yeah, when I was about 12 years old, back in the day, climbing uphill with chickens.
I can just imagine that. But we've run out of time.
Oh, that's very
Did
nice
you have lots
chat.
more stories?
Loads
Yeah.
more stories.
Oh,
Next
well,
time.
you have to save them for next time then.
will.
Thank you so much.
No
And we'll
problem.
see you again next time. But stay around because we've got lots more coming on. Because in the next part, we'll be joined by Michelle Lowe to discuss gender violence, her childhood and her work at a London Children's Centre. So don't go away.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happiest side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. Now, as you all know, every show we have a fitness tip from Jane Rafter, and this time she's going to be telling us how using a diary can help you with your fitness goals.
Hi guys, it's Jane here with your fitness tip for the day. I've got a little motivational tip for you, which might sound really obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're starting on a fitness regime, you're starting something new, and you've got lots and lots of willpower, in order to make it work, I really strongly advise you to note your planned activities in your diary. So whether it's a class or a walk with a friend or a swim or whatever it is, put it in your diary. Obviously it reminds you to do it, but it also makes your commitment to it much more real, and you will ring fence it, you'll turn down other things and you'll make it happen. So plan your week, put it in your diary and circle it in red. Okay, see you soon guys.
Thank you very much to the lovely Jane. And now I have Michelle joining me in the studio. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Chrissy. Lovely to meet you.
You too, my darling. So you're going to be speaking to us about the childcare work that you do, but also this show is about sort of making children happy. So we're going to touch on that as well with you now. So tell us, you work in childcare. How did you get into that in the first place, and what do you love about it?
Well, how I got into that actually, I was actually an agency member of staff, and I actually joined the team, and then I actually applied for the job, and I actually got the job, so I was so happy about that. What I love about working in childcare is that I get to help people. So I'm on the front line, so I'm an administrator, and every day I get to help somebody, and I can help someone to access the services they've never accessed before. Okay. So I really feel passionate about helping people to move forward with their lives, and really to move on to better things in their lives. And I really have a deep passion about that, always have since I've been really young, actually.
But why is that? Is that because of something that happened to you, or you've got like a personal link there?
Yes, from when I was a child I did actually suffer gendered violence, and also my mum and my sister. So because I suffered that, I really do have a real passion to actually help others. So it will actually help them to get through the issues that they're having, because it did actually really affect me as a child.
How did it affect you? Like, what kind of things were going on, and how did that impact your life in particular?
There was a lot of emotional abuse going on. So after my parents divorced and my dad left the house, myself, my sister and my mum suffered a lot of emotional abuse. So they were just like, first of all, they were very...
Oh, so he wasn't actually in the house anymore? No,
he wasn't actually in the house anymore. So after he left, so when he was actually there, things were actually all right. But when my mum and dad's marriage broke down and he actually left the house, that's when the emotional abuse really started to happen. Okay. So there were times when we had phone calls, you know, at the dead of night, where my dad would actually call, and made my mum really frightened, because at first he just wasn't saying anything. My mum knew it was him, but he was literally just breathing down the phone really heavily. And then after a few weeks later, he was making some very serious threats.
Oh gosh!
You know, that he was gonna kill my mum, that he was gonna kill us, and also that he made threats that he was gonna kidnap my sister and myself from school.
And how did that affect you? How did you did you pull together at that point, and did you get help?
We really pulled together. We actually used each other to get help. I think my mum wasn't actually aware of any other help that was going on. My mum did get help from a friend, so a friend that really supported her to get her through it. But at that time, I was actually growing up in the early 90s, and it's different now, but at that time, we weren't really aware of any, support that was going on. But we did get support definitely from my mum's friend at the time, and we did actually.
That's the thing, because and I know back then it was it wasn't really sort of talked about much as well as it is now.
True.
But nowadays, I mean, even back then, it was very important to speak to someone. It's good that your mum spoke to a friend, because you do need to like let it out and have someone to confide in, because it's such a tough situation to go through. But nowadays, there's so many agencies that can help. You know, you don't have to feel that you're alone if you're going through something like that. Now, do you also get men coming to your agency and talking about violence themselves?
It's
or is that
so strange. We don't get any men coming, and I think the reason for that is because there is a real taboo around violence against men. I think men feel, you know, this sense of shame, because when a man experiences violence at the hands of a woman, he can feel completely emasculated, and he can feel really, really ashamed. And also, I want to mention as well is that there's a lot of there's an issue, I think, in society that men are laughed at when they do actually report it. Because I remember even growing up at school, there was this really serious case where a man had actually been abused by his wife, and she had actually cut off his member. So it was a very serious, very serious.
Oh my goodness.
And my friends thought it was hilarious. They thought it was so funny. And at that age, I mean, I was about 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And I realised the seriousness of it. And I said, I said to my friends, how could you laugh at that? They didn't understand why I wasn't laughing, why I wasn't, you know, why I wasn't finding it funny. But even at that age, I was aware of how serious an issue that violence was, and how it can really affect
men,
someone.
what do you think needs to be done for men maybe to speak up more?
I think definitely there needs to be more support groups, because support groups are focused around women. Even though people say domestic violence, gender violence, it is really focused around women. And I think men are really left out. And I have never, in my children's centre, a man has never come to me to say that he has suffered domestic violence or gender violence. And I think there are a lot of men out there. I think even some...
There are. We actually had someone on the show as well that came to talk about it, and he was actually thinking of killing himself because he was with his wife, and all the time she wasn't physical, but she would put him down all the time, and you know, it was emotional abuse, and it really affected him, and he didn't know how to deal with it, and he didn't know where to go to get help or anything like that, and it really affected him to the point that he was thinking of ending his own life, and he had children and everything. So it's something really serious that needs to be addressed, definitely. Now, obviously, you some of the children that you help, obviously they're male children as well. So, how do they deal with things? Would you say it's a sort of similar way to the way the females do when they go through abuse?
You mean like children or adult or children? I would say that male children do actually deal with it in a very different way. Like girl children, they tend to be more emotional in how they deal with things.
Okay.
But with boys, we do find and I'm working with my children's centre, we do find it's a little bit harder to actually tell the signs if a boy's actually experienced. Obviously, in the children's centre, we are fully trained. So we can spot the signs, but it's a lot harder to spot it in boys because they don't show as much emotion. They don't show it in the same way.
Well, they're
as
taught to be
girls do.
tough maybe, and not to cry.
Absolutely,
And
I
stuff
think
like
there
that.
is this culture where boys are taught to be macho, and if they're crying and if they're very sensitive, they're seen as being very weak. And I think it's the issue. The reason why this happens is because there's very strong gender roles. This is what a boy should be like. This is what a girl should be like. And if someone is very different to that, sometimes they're ridiculed. And I think that's the problem in the society today.
Now, what would you say, Michelle, in your opinion, really makes children happy?
I think the most important thing is, first of all, they need to be in a very safe environment, environment where there is no abuse. And they need to be loved as well. That is one of the key things. A child needs to be loved. And it doesn't.
Can you define that though? Because sometimes you get sort of maybe parents saying that, I really show love to my child and stuff, and that child doesn't feel love because maybe they think their definition of love is like showering the child with gifts and not being around. But what would you define showing love as, would you say?
I think love is, first of all, having quality time with your child rather than, just not giving your child any attention. So I think, first of all, it's showing your child a lot of love and attention and spending time with them.
So it's not shoving a computer game at them and saying, just to keep them quiet. It's talk to them.
And also it's about giving positive praise. When your child has done something really good, to give positive praise rather than ignoring it. Because what some parents do is they identify all the things their child are doing wrong. They will pick it up straight away and shout at the children, but where the things that they're doing really well, they won't praise. I think it's very important to praise your child and to really nurture them as well. It's so important.
Brilliant advice. And just to finish, do you have any nice, happy childhood memories that you'd like to share with the viewers? Because we're all going to talk about it today.
I do have some really happy childhood memories. I remember in the times when my mum used to take me to the park, and there were times when we were really happy, and even though there were so many issues that we were experiencing at home,
there's always something something positive.
Absolutely, because my mum, my mum spent so much time with my sister and I. She really loved us. We really, sometimes we completely forgot that there were issues going on, and we were just so happy. And I think my mum spent so much time and with us, but also we'd done lots of activities as well. Like my sister and I, we played so many different instruments. I can't even remember all of them. It was just really. We did have a really, despite everything that was going on, we had a really happy childhood. So I can't, in that sense.
So that's a really good thing to mention on this program. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Michelle, because sometimes a parent might think, like my life's a mess because of all these things that's going on with my partner and everything, and it's like they almost kind of give up because they think, there's nothing I can do to make my child happy as long as this is going on. But your mum managed to do that. She sounds like a great mum.
My mum is wonderful.
So she still managed to give you some happiness, and even despite the circumstances. So it's important for parents not to give up and to still, even though you might have problems at home and you're getting help and everything, but still pay your children attention, and you can make them happy. You can do nice things for them still, and they'll remember those things, like you have, which is great. Michelle, thank you so much for speaking to us and for all the lovely advice that you've given. I'm sure it's helped a lot of the viewers today. Thank you so much. Okay, well, it is time for a break, but do stay tuned, because after the break, we'll be going to a Skype call with parenting expert Sue Atkins for tips on how to help create a happier childhood and how to deal with distressing events in your child's life. And we'll also go to the streets of London to find out how important hugs are to people, and also what your happy childhood memories are.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happiest side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. So we are going to be speaking to our parenting expert Sue Atkins in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at this video where we ask people how important hugs are.
How often do you make time for a hug? In this day and age of social disconnection, social networking websites, have we forgotten the basic physical gestures of love, humanity and kindness that can be expressed in just one hug? Please take a look at this video.
I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your sky in hand. It's all the same.
So Jonathan, how often do you take the time out to have a hug?
Fairly frequently during the day.
That's quite a lot, that's quite unusual. Who do you hug?
I hug my wife because I'm retired, so I've got lots of time at home.
Not as often as I should do. Well, I would say once every few days, maybe with my mum, but people are more accustomed to sort of looking at a computer screen than looking someone in the eyes and giving them a hearty hug, and just because a lot can be said in a hug. I mean, there's no words, but just that, the arms and the body, it's just that feeling of warmth which words can't really express.
Whenever I meet up with friends and stuff, I always give them a hug and that. But
I think hugs are a very important part of life because it's a way to express your emotion. And when you see friends, you just want to I don't know, if you haven't seen them for a while, you kind of want to give them a hug and be like, I missed you and stuff like that.
The only time I have a hug is when something's wrong. Yeah, of course there are. People are insular. People are more important. I mean, even I can sit on a train, I don't even know who's sitting next to me, and I could be looking on Twitter and finding out what's going on in someone else's life, but I've never met them.
Every day.
Okay, and how does it make you feel?
Nice, good, like a treat.
And you?
I like it, it's kind of like family interaction.
Not too often, unfortunately.
Why not?
I don't know, it's the British Reserve and all that. It's think we don't do it.
Don't really think about hugging him, so not really much.
all the time I can get, I think. When he wants a hug, he'll get one.
How do hugs make you feel? You obviously like them.
Wanted, special, loved, cared for, everything.
What about you?
Warm. Quite often, I think, yeah. Every day, at least.
And why do you do that then?
Because it makes me happy.
As often as I can, yeah.
And how does it make you feel?
Warm. It's nice, of course.
Every day.
I say, yeah, every day, because you need that. I think that you need some hugs from everyone that loves you, because it's important, especially in a big city like London, that seems to be alienated one each other. The man seems to be alienated, and so you need some love.
I wouldn't do anything as planned as taking time out to have a hug, but I know that being in physical contact does make a difference. And there was some research done many years ago, and they asked librarians when they gave books back to people as they checked them in and out, just to touch fingers. And then they asked people how they felt about visiting the library. And the ones who'd been touched, even though it was just fingers, felt much happier. And it's breaking through the barriers, so people can feel connected in a way that you don't feel connected if you get a Christmas card and you just think, well, somebody sent it, but they've sent 10,000 others. But if somebody actually makes contact with you, meaning it, it's got to be meaning it, because it can just be, aren't I wonderful, aren't I natural, I hug and kiss everyone. Yeah. No, you don't. You're just infatuated with yourself.
How often do you take the time out to have a hug?
Once a week.
And how does it make you feel?
Special.
Good about myself.
Loved.
Good.
Better about myself. A lot better about myself.
Warm and cosy.
Yeah.
That's it for me on the streets of London. Now back to Chris in the studio.
So definitely hugs are very important. But now it's time to meet our parenting expert, Sue Atkins. Hello, Sue.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sue. Thanks so much for joining us. So we're going to be getting your advice on some parenting tips, because obviously there are, difficult situations that arise. Every parent wants their child to be happy, but sometimes distressing things happen. So how can we best help children in this situation?
Well, I think the secret is to be calm and focused and very clear about how to protect your kids from certain things, because they will pick up on your stress. Mm-hmm. If you're anxious about money or you're worried about grandma, your children will pick that up. So there's also that about being honest with them too, but it's always about being the right age for what information they need to have. You don't need to be your child's friend. Mm-hmm. Parent, and protect them first and guide them.
Okay. And if for example, it's a partner that's sort of causing the stress, so for example, maybe as we heard earlier, one of our guests, there's an abusive partner involved and the child obviously has been affected by that, how would you handle that situation?
Well, you need to get professional help if your child's being abused or living in an abusive situation. And you need to notify the school, actually, so that the teacher and the special needs teachers, the SENCOs, can support the child if they have, tantrums or they have worries or they're withdrawn. It's best to teach and tell people about that so that the professionals can come in and help your child and support them through those challenging times.
And how about if there's for example, like the situation is basically between yourself and your partner and maybe you're having issues, but obviously children may pick up on that. What's the best advice you could give for parents in that situation? They don't want to, obviously having problems, but they don't want to affect their children.
Well, the thing is, it does affect the children, and children are very intuitive, and so they pick up the nuances without being obvious. They notice those things. So again, if you're having problems, perhaps it's a good idea to go and get some help, or go and get coaching, or go and get some therapy, or work through your issues, because your children are affected by all these things because they pick these things up unconsciously and get stressed and anxious.
And even though some parents might try to hide what's going on, it doesn't work.
Children know all the time.
They're quite smart.
When you walk into a room and you sense that a couple have had a row, you haven't heard them, but when you walk into the room, you just pick that vibe up. And children living in difficult circumstances pick that up all the time. So it's best to try and sort your issues out so that your child can relax and sleep well and do well at school.
Definitely. And what would you say the best ways to create happy childhood memories? Because we all want those, don't we?
Well, I always say that children spell love, Time. So if you spend time with your children, you play with them, you read with them, you have fun with them, you put boundaries around them, you give them hugs, as you were showing And children love that if you spend some quality time with them. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, it could be go to the park, it could be riding a bike, it could be playing a game, you know, a board game at the table, or whatever you want to do with your kids. And I also think a nice place to do that is to sit and eat together. I know we're very busy these days, but it's important, even if it's once a week, sit down and eat together. And you could even have like a Friday night film night where you have popcorn and stuff, because kids then learn to sort of trust that and relax around that, look forward to it, and you build memories that last a lifetime.
It's definitely true, because sometimes it's the small things that we remember. It's not like the expensive presents we might have received from our parents, or it's the fun times that you have, and that, like you say, it doesn't have to be expensive, so there's not really an excuse for a parent not to be able to give that to their child.
I know, it's a very busy world we live in, and parents are very busy running around. But if you can make that special time, even a bedtime story can become a special moment, you know, and you just climb up into bed together and cuddle up and read a story to them, and they fall asleep happy, then you've done a good job.
Okay. And Sue, would you like to share one of your happy childhood memories with us?
Oh, right. Well, I was just thinking, actually, I was watching a programme earlier today about seaside memories, and I remember going to Canberra Sands with my mum and dad. It was such an adventure, really early, 6 o'clock in the morning, climbing into the car, going on a really long journey, singing songs, and getting to Canberra Sands and having an ice cream. And that is just a huge memory for me. Very simple, but really special.
All right, that's lovely. I will leave it on that note. So thank you so very much for your input and your lovely advice. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Okie dokie. So we are going to see now what some people on the streets of London had to say about their fondest childhood memories. And one of mine was actually when I used to go to Cyprus on holiday, and we used to take about a couple of weeks and we would camp on the beach. So imagine like all my cousins, uncles, family all in these tents. And at night we used to go to the beach and just sort of lay on the sand and just watch the stars. And there used to be loads and loads of shooting stars. So that was, I think, one of my happiest childhood memories. I had loads, but especially that one. See, inexpensive, didn't cost much. And of course, spending time with my family was great too. But let's see what you guys had to say.
When you look back to your childhood, what would you say was your most happiest childhood memory?
I think it's walking down through yellow and red leaves when the autumn comes, and you're just wearing your school shoes because the school has started, and you're just rolling around in the leaves.
When I met my little brother, and my sister held him, and I wanted to have him, so I grabbed the feet, and she grabbed the head, and we pulled.
Apart from hugging my mum and things like that, riding a bike for the first time maybe.
Going to the beach with my little brother and watching him bury himself in the ground. He was very short at the time. He dug himself a massive hole, thought he could climb out, he couldn't. It was incredibly amusing, and yeah, he's 6'2" now, so it's very much something that sticks with me, little tiny him.
Probably when I was a little boy, my dad took me to watch England play against Spain at Wembley, and that was probably the best part of my childhood.
Do you grow up somewhere that was in the countryside?
Yeah.
Do you think that helped you to have a happy childhood because you've had that space?
Absolutely. Yeah, really important to have the place to run around, and yeah, freedom. We used to be out all day at weekends, yeah.
I always treasure on special occasions like Christmas. We always go around to my auntie's, and it's like a big Christmas dinner in our family. I'm very family orientated. It's a very close family I have, and it's always been.
So there you have it. Parents, please take time to spend with your children. They will remember it for the rest of their lives. All right, so do stay tuned, because after the break, we'll speak to soul singer-songwriter Debra Debs.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show. Always aiming to show you the happiest side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back, and now it's time to talk to the very talented Debra Debs. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, I'm good, thanks.
Excited because you're going to be singing for us.
Yes,
but
I will.
Before that, you're going to tell us all about your career.
Okay, yeah.
So tell us where it all started, because did you always have a passion for music since you were small?
Yeah, I've been singing for quite a few years now. I grew up in Cameroon, by the way, and I've been here 14 years, but I went to an all-girls boarding school, and I joined the choir, and I learned to sing, and I learned to harmonise, learned to write my own songs.
Oh, nice.
And when I came here in 2000, I did a media degree, kind of dropped out of it, and then I started doing a music diploma, finished that off and did a music degree.
So was the music always sort of there in the background, like
it's
trying to...
Yeah, it's always been at the back of my mind, and I've always wanted to sing. I've always wanted to release my own music and, you know, share it with the world like every other creative person wants to do. And yeah, so I've been singing for quite a few years.
So what kind of music are you actually into? What's your
mainly soul and jazz.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit of R&B, but mainly sort of neo soul. Jill Scott's one of my heroes, music soul child, D'Angelo, and a lot of jazz as well.
Okay, and what do you enjoy most about singing and songwriting?
The creative process, you know, the art of sort of writing lyrics and, you know, translating your emotion into pen and paper and into words, and making, you know, and kind of making people feel good about themselves through the kind of messages that you put out.
Okay.
But yeah, the whole creative process, the writing, the recording, everything else to do with promotion is kind of tricky and kind of hard as well when you're an indie artist. But being creative is probably the best part of it.
Tell us about these nominations that you've had.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised. I mean, I've been doing quite a bit this year since my album came out last November. And I've been promoting it, doing shows here in London and a few European countries. And I've been pushing quite a lot, and I've had lots of support from UK DJs, soul DJs. And to be nominated for 3 awards for the Urban Music Awards is quite fantastic.
3, that's amazing.
It just feels like, you know,
to make all the hard work worth it now, isn't it?
Totally,
you can see, now start seeing the results from it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what would you advise maybe some youngsters watching now that want to get into music? What's your best advice that you could give them?
Make some really good friends, some really good relationships, because your relationships will they'll kind of propel you to where you need to get to. Be kind to everyone you come across. Be very, very gentle.
That's a very nice one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
when you're kind to people, they're super kind to you.
Yeah.
You know.
And this diva business, like ordering people around and being horrible to them.
None of that. Don't be a diva. Don't be too full of yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, a lot of hard work pays off. Try and work with the right people. Be very firm as well, because you have lots of people who know that you want to get to, you know, you want to get to the top, so they'll try and take advantage of you. But you just have to be very careful with the people you work with.
Brilliant, that's brilliant advice, definitely. Now, what does the future hold for Debra Debs? What have you got lined up?
Well, I've got a few shows coming up. I've got one in December, and I'm working on my second album as well. That'll be coming out next year. I'm really excited about that. But with the second album, I'm going to take my time and, you know, write to not feel under pressure, because the first one's out of the way.
Yeah.
So the second album is going to be a bit more mature, a bit more adventurous. Yeah, so a few shows and the second album.
Brilliant. And what are you going to be singing for us today?
I'm going to be singing a song called Sometimes. It's a really, really feel-good song, and it's out there to encourage people to just love themselves and feel positive.
Lovely.
You know, I'm a great practitioner of the law of attraction. Whatever you think about or desire, you'll get, but you've got to think about the positive things rather than the negative things. So dwell on what makes you happy rather than dwelling on things that make you sad, and that change your mood and sort of uplift you.
Brilliant advice. Debra Debs, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We're going to see you performing in just a moment, but I'm going to answer a question from a viewer first.
Okay.
So don't go away, because the viewers want to hear you sing.
Okay.
All right, lovely speaking to you.
Likewise.
All right, so let's answer this question from a viewer. And this one's from Chloe, and she says, "Hi Chrissy, I'm 21 and I've just found out that I'm pregnant, which I'm very happy about, but I'm scared. My mother walked out on me and my siblings, and we have not seen her since. My dad is a good dad, but sometimes he says I'm just like my mother. I would never walk out on my child, but what if I can't cope? How will I manage? My partner is brilliant, but so is my dad, and my mum walked out on him. I don't want a repeat of what my mum did. What would you do, Chrissy?" Now, Chloe, I have to say, if you don't want a repeat of what your mum did, so don't let there be a repeat, basically. Now, it sounds like you have a lot of fear inside of you because of what happened in the past, and maybe you're remembering how it felt for you when your mum left and how much it hurt you, and obviously you don't want that same pain, you don't want your child to go for that same pain. So, first of all, I would say to deal with the past, because it sounds like you're still sort of, you know, it's in your head and it's causing you fears, and it's like you don't trust yourself. So if you need to get any kind of counselling or to speak to someone about that, I would say deal with that issue first. And another thing is as well, though your dad says, you know, you're just like your mum, okay, you might have some similar characteristics to your mother, but it doesn't mean that because she walked out that you will do the same. I know it's hard that probably what happened hurt you, but at the end of the day, you don't really know what your mum was going through at the time because you haven't spoken to her. She could have been going through absolutely anything that's, you know, something that she couldn't even speak to someone about. So I would say if you have issues there, you know, I would say forgive her, because sometimes, you know, people hurt us, but we don't actually realize what they themselves are going through. And also, I would say, you know, you're wondering about how you can cope. How are you going to cope if you go through problems? The way you cope is by speaking to someone. There's so many people that, you know, you can talk to. You can talk to your dad, you can talk to your partner, you can talk to a friend. So many people go through these same things, and sometimes it just takes someone else to understand you, to be able to let off some steam. So if you're feeling under pressure, make sure you speak to someone about it as well. And just a note to parents here, as you're saying, because Chloe's dad said, oh, you're just like your mother. It's very important to be careful about what you say to your children, because comments like that can scar them for life and it can cause major problems. So when you say things to your child, try not to say things in anger and say, oh, you're just like so-and-so, and because it does hurt and it stays with them for many years. So when you speak to your child, say positive things. Don't compare them to another person, because they're not the same person. But going back to Chloe now, normally the people that actually walk out or they don't cope with someone is because they haven't asked for help. So definitely, if you are going through something, ask for help. And you say you have a brilliant partner, so he's there to help you too. So don't worry, enjoy your pregnancy, enjoy your children, and have a lovely, lovely future. And that's what I would say to you. And if you guys have a problem at home, you have a situation, you'd like to know what I would do if I were in your shoes, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. But now let's go to Debra Debs with Sometimes.
Sometimes the stormy weather gets you. Sometimes the sun don't shine on your face. Sometimes you feel low. Sometimes you think they're out to get you. But it don't matter what the weather throws. Ain't no matter to lie. It's all about keeping alive. Let your faith do the walking. Let your heart do the talking. Sometimes it don't mean they don't love you. Matter of fact, you're damn beautiful in every way. Hey, it's all their loss if they can't deal with you. Go flaunt your blessings, boast about what he gave you. Oh. Ain't no man who to lie. It's all about keeping alive. Let your faith do the walking. Let your heart do the talking.
All right, so we have a few things on the show today, Excel, so let's tell the viewers all about it. We're going to be watching a success story with the founder of vintage hair salon, The Parlour. Also, Teresa Megan Gregoire will be sharing with us her makeup tips on how to choose the right foundation and why not to throw away those lighter, darker shades that currently do not match your skin. We also have Cynthia Liza Gregoire, her lovely sister, who's going to be giving us her styling tips on how to choose and there's nothing else on the auto cue. So I don't know what she was going to choose. How to choose what Excel could it be? What could it be?
How to choose a look with your denim trousers?
How to choose the right ice cream?
Well, it could be anything really.
Yes. But it's on this one here.
Oh.
It's how to choose the right denim jean. Don't go yet, ladies. I think we have to do that bit again.